shall we go flying again? Yeah, another leg of the Palawan Tour, where today we'll be departing Rysal and heading for Brooks Point. Light and variable winds, so it's not going to make much difference which end of the runway we set off from. So I went for the end that was closest to where we parked. Lovely, we're away. Yeah, so we're in our X-Plane flight simulator, but that's not the only simulation which has caught my attention this week. Firstly, there's something called Running Train, which is probably not going to surprise you too much if I say it's a train simulator. So it showed up in my YouTube algorithm, not totally sure why, as I don't play train sim games, but I clicked on the video and I've got to say this thing looks lovely. Basically it's a train sim for Japan, and it's in early access at the moment, so it doesn't appear to have massive amounts of routes as yet or that kind of thing, but what it does have looks totally believable as being real, and that's even more of a shock, as I found out the whole thing has been made by just one person. So very impressive. Now, I'm not a particular fan of trains. There are other train sims which have been out for ages, and I've happily ignored all of those, but there is part of me that's a little bit intrigued by it now I've seen what this one is and what it looks like. It's not a massively expensive, and there's even a 10% discount at the moment if you get it in early access, so it's not like you're forking out for a full price AAA game kind of thing. But I'm just thinking that it might be like, whoa, look at me, I'm driving a train, this is great, and look at that lovely scenery. Then a few days later I'll have got bored of it. So if you spot something out of the window in an aeroplane, you can fly over and have a look at it. On train tracks you're kind of stuck, aren't you, and that might become a bit repetitive compared to the freedom that X-Plane and flying gives you. So yeah, we'll see. I'm still in the undecided category at the moment, but if any of you have that one, which as I say is called Running Train, or any other train simulators, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. And if you want to take a look yourself, search for Running Train on YouTube, and a few people have posted videos so you can see what I'm talking about if you've never heard of it. Then the other one, which you're probably more likely to have heard of, is Dead Stick. Again, just have a search on YouTube for Dead Stick, as a few people have posted videos from what I think may be an open beta version. Anyway, this was a game that popped up ages ago as being in development. Then it died for a few years with no news at all, so me, and I would guess plenty of other people as well, just assumed that it had been abandoned and we'd never get to see it. Well, it's now been taken over by another company as far as I know, and it most definitely is back in development again. And I will be following the progress of that, as the premise of the game seems to be a bush flying kind of aviation in a fantasy world, with the addition of a career kind of thing, with earning money from jobs, spending it again looking after your aircraft, I think maybe expanding your bases and all that kind of thing, which, let's be honest, is exactly what Southfield and Palawan are without the money part, as I'm not good enough of a software writer to add all the finances into a plugin to do that. But if I could write code, then Deadstick would be exactly the game that I would make. So I'm very interested to see what happens with that. Yeah, I'm not going to be a day one purchaser of it. I'll let other people do that so I can evaluate their reviews. Largely as you can split things into... Well, firstly, there's flying a plane. I would have my doubts that Deadstick will be anything better than X-Plane for that part, and most likely won't have the same variety of aircraft to try out either. Secondly, it's a bush flying kind of experience, although the levels of danger and stupidity in their Deadstick airfields are most likely not going to be a match for South Fiordland or parts of Palawan, as I did make those specifically to be dangerous and stupid. So there is a part of me that wonders if the landing of a plane in the game is going to be a little too easy for bush flying and not offering you much of a challenge. I don't know. Then there's the financial aspect of it. How well does that work with the career options in the game? And also, what's open to be modded? I've no interest in making stuff for a new sim myself, but if the base game is like X-Plane, where others can make aircraft etc. to be imported into Deadstick, that could have an impact on whether I may be tempted to make a purchase, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Although, even if everything is shiny and lovely and just what I want, then I certainly wouldn't abandon X-Plane. Deadstick, if I do end up buying it, would be something a bit different to have a go at every now and again, where X-Plane is still my simulator of choice most of the time, because then you get to fly into places like Brooks Point here, which is not that wide. It's long enough, but there's not too much room to spare left and right. Although, being the genius that I am, I'm sure that won't be a problem at all today. Come on, get it. Ooh, that was a bit heavy. I don't know. Crap, we're sliding. Yeah. Oh God, sorry about your fence, but bollocks. That. Oh God, this is not. Actually, that's just where I wanted to go and park. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so this is not the greatest touchdown, and they will need some new fencing, quite a lot of new fencing. Yeah, but when you end up drifting right up to the exact spot where you want to park, I'd say that was brilliant. It couldn't have gone any better, really. So another fantastic and almost perfect arrival, if you ignore the fence, and another leg of the Palawan missions complete. So I'll see you again next time when we do another Palawan leg. Bye.